Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Blind, brought to you by Tetra Hearing. Find them online at tetrahearing.com. We are back in Saskatchewan. It's Alex Dicey, Logan Burdett. I'm Ronnie Phillips, and our first day of hunting was this morning, and we're going to come in here and tell you all about it. We're going to be here for the next 3 more days of hunting, right?
4 more days.
4 more days.
We have 4 more days of hunting?
Yeah.
Oh, when are we coming home? We get home on Thursday?
Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're leaving on Wednesday.
Yeah.
After we hunt Wednesday.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, I was wrong about that. Cool. We get an extra hunt. I thought we were going to get 4 days of hunting in
we're
here.
getting 5.
Nice.
Not that my body can probably take 5 days of hunting because I'm already exhausted, but
Yeah, right. Well, that's the thing about this trip is it is a grind. We had a 2 o'clock wake up. You got the long daylight hours. It doesn't get dark until about 9:30, and then the sun comes up obviously so much earlier. And shooting times 4:45, 4:50.
Yeah, 4:45, 4:50 shooting time this morning. It gets at you, but
man, it was tough. That 2 o'clock wake up call, especially after doing a 20-hour drive.
I was gonna say it's not like you start the trip refreshed because you drive 21 hours overnight. No one sleeps well in the car, even if you can nap for an hour or two. So you're already tired. And then we spent all day yesterday scouting. We put a ton of miles on trying to find where the birds were. Birds are really spread out.
birds sat in the field all day yesterday because it rained.
Yep.
So we not only did we drive 21 hours, but we also sat in the truck for another 10 scouting. I mean, I think we ate dinner last night at like 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
So then you get a couple hours of potential nap in the afternoon and a couple hours of a nap in the night. And
Yeah, your nap is actually at night, and your real sleep is during the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're going to blow through this podcast so that we can go to bed. So we can go to bed at 12:30 in the afternoon before we go out and scout about 6 o'clock. No, but seriously, some things to talk about here before we get into the hunt. This is our last few episodes of Behind the Blind for season 11. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this journey with us. The whole idea and the concept behind this Behind the Blind podcast is to give you guys an insight in semi-real time of what it's like to be in camp with us. When you're going somewhere and you're hunting with your buddies, you're sitting around, you're having conversation, you might be having a cocktail, and you're talking about the scout, you're talking about the hunt, and that's what waterfowl hunters love, is that camaraderie and that brotherhood with all of your buddies. And so that's what this is intended to be about. And so we are trying to navigate it. Again, I'm so exhausted right now. I'm struggling to get through this, but we hope that you enjoy. We appreciate the support. Again, you can get this on YouTube and Spotify. So let's talk about, you talked about the difficulty of the drive and just how long it is and how you can get so fatigued. On top of that was the rain.
Right.
And driving in the rain and trying to squint because the roads aren't very well marked.
The non-existent roads.
Right. So that puts a toll on you as well. And so where I'm going with the rain has happened here over the last few days and could potentially happen again some more. So we really thought we were going to go into a wet, sloppy mess this morning.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised this morning.
Yeah, we were able to drive in the field. It was a pea field, so I don't know if that just area didn't get as much rain, but where we were, 30 miles west, yesterday Alex and I scouted, and the roads were a lot wetter and everything. So I feel like there wasn't as much rain in the area than we were at, but it seems like everywhere has gotten a good amount of rain, and we have rain tomorrow afternoon, rain pretty well all day Monday and Tuesday too. So conditions aren't looking great as far as the rain forecast, but with that front coming in brings wind, and wind's really the name of the game up here in the springtime, because typically in the mornings you're looking at 0 to 3 mile an hour. If you are lucky, you'll get 5. So anytime you can get any wind and obviously take advantage of that, although you kind of have to fight the rain. But the good thing is when the rain typically happens up here, they're pop-up storms that last 3-4 hours at most, and then they're gone. So you can usually hunt in the morning or hunt in the afternoon, or vice versa, depending on when the storm comes through.
Yeah, and you get kind of like what we saw when we first scouted yesterday was it rained all the way up until noon or so yesterday.
Yep.
And so the birds sat pretty tight all day and just hopscotched around field to field. And so you get a day that's, kind of spotty showers. You got the wind that's going to be in your favor. If you're in a good area, which you guys ran into last night, a pretty good pocket of birds, then if you're in that area and it's spotting rain here and there, like we can deal with some rain, and it's going to keep the birds moving around. And
for sure. And, we got a really good pocket. Unfortunately, you guys really put on a lot of miles yesterday with your scout. And I mean, and like you said, there were pockets. You don't think you saw in those pockets the numbers that we were
There's
seeing.
just not a lot of bigger feeds that you're typical of seeing in the springtime. The birds are really, really, really spread out, and the fields are big, right? So when there might only be 5,000 birds, which, there are plenty of times when that's a huntable number up here, but when they're covering an entire, full section scattered out across it, it really does make it difficult. So, trying to find the numbers in a smaller field or, concentrated together or on sheet water with how much it's raining, something along those lines is kind of what you're looking for. And right now it's kind of tough to come by. The birds are all spread out. I mean, there's birds maybe in every other field or, maybe every mile or so, but they're just super, super spread out, coming off different roosts and not really congregated like they kind of were in your area this morning.
Yeah, no doubt. We got kind of lucky when we went on the scout, and we've talked about this before on this podcast and even in prior television episodes is, we use Onyx and we drop pins, and a lot of us share the same pins with one another. And so whenever we go back to an area that we're familiar with, we will revisit those pins from over the years. And typically, Logan has his truck, I have mine, and then he will have some guys. In this case, he had Alex, and they'll go off to one certain area. They went off to the west. We went off to the east, which was an area that I kind of typically scout when we come up here in the spring. And so somewhat familiar with that area, but I was revisiting some of those old pins, and one of those pins was a field that we had hunted back in 2019, the first year I think that we came up here to. No, it was 2019, according to my pin.
2017. You wouldn't have had Onyx when we hunted that field.
According to my pin, it was 2019.
Trust me, people listening, it was 2018.
Okay. I digress.
You're wrong. The dog chewed up my RM app, I remember.
Do you? Well, it was the first year that we came up here in the spring.
We stayed at Carla's house. It's when we stayed at Carla's house.
No, I'm talking about the first time we came up here to hunt in the spring.
That's not what I was talking about.
I don't know what you were talking about. I'm too tired for that. What were you talking about?
Carla's house.
I remember Carla's house.
Where we hunted
He's talking about in the fall.
When I FaceTime Champlin this morning.
Yes.
And I was like, hey, we hunted, just to let you know, we hunted here it was like 10 years ago.
Ronnie's talking about when Tristan was up here.
I know. I was trying to make a joke.
No one's brain's working.
Yeah.
But mine is because it was 2018.
Anyway, we revisited a pin in an area of which we had hunted before, and in that area, and actually when we scouted yesterday, in that field was completely loaded, but they had already raked it, and it wasn't conducive for hiding in the middle of the field, and there wasn't really a good spot to edge them. And being that there wasn't going to be any wind this morning, it didn't make sense to try to hunt them in the middle of the field. And so that was the morning scout. We went out again yesterday afternoon, noticed that they were, as Alex said, bouncing from field to field, kind of in that same quarter mile to half mile diameter. And lo and behold, they were in a pea field with a really good edge. I would have to say that the hide that we had this morning was one of the best that we've ever had. I mean, and it came together so quickly. It's just everything was set up perfect.
Yeah, super, super easy, good hide. And, when you're shooting adult birds like you mainly are up here in the springtime, we were talking about how we wanted to sacrifice maybe a field that had better birds for,
a better hide.
Yeah, way better hide. And that's obviously what we did this morning. So, and I feel like that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
If you can't hide yourself very well, then they pick you out. I mean, there was, a couple of different flocks this morning that were flaring on something that the flocks before it didn't see, and the flocks after didn't see what it was. Who knows, but just you have to be conscious of what's going
Everything.
on with your hide for sure.
And you're already at a disadvantage because you know that you're not going to have any wind.
Yep.
And that is so. And you've heard us complain about this over and over and over again on Heartland Waterfowl if you're watching this right now. But like, it is, in my opinion, so it's so important to snow goose hunting, but in particular the spring. And they're just so educated. They've been hunted all year long.
Yeah, and they're mature geese.
Yeah,
you know?
no doubt.
Who knows how old some of them are? So
No doubt.
they've seen plenty of spreads, especially in the last 60 days. You know,
Right.
they've seen tons of decoy spreads that sit out the whole spring migration. You know,
Sure. Naturally, we're not going to not hunt on a day that is no wind. I mean, we came up here and drove many miles and put our bodies through hell to get here. So we're going to hunt and, as we like to say sometimes, give it the old college try. But this was the best scenario. I mean, there was at least 60,000 snow geese within this half-mile diameter when we were scouting them through yesterday afternoon. And so, and granted, they weren't all in that field, but they're bouncing back and forth and trading places. And so it was just set up to be the best option for us this morning. Didn't turn out quite like we had hoped it did. I think we ended up with just under 20 birds, but it's again one of those scenarios where we say if we would have had the win, we would have been done in no time. And if we weren't filming, we would have had more than what we had. I mean,
if you're up here with your buddies and you're fun hunting and you guys are shooting out of the back of the blind or straight up above you and that kind of stuff, which everyone loves to do, especially what sometimes you got to do for zero wins.
We love to do it too.
No doubt, no doubt. But again, and I said this in a when we were filming for TV in an interview that I did, is that's the thing though, is that if we don't get it on camera, it defeats the purpose of why we're here. And so we're always sacrificing the ability to take killable shots because we want to either get them to spin another time or wait for another opportunity so that we can get them to center up and get it on camera.
Yeah, and we get a little greedy from time to time too, just because that's the best part about it is completely fooling them, and especially adult snow geese. Like that one more spin, and when they do it and then they do center up, you're like, that's it. That's why I waited.
Right.
And so there's been plenty of times where like, maybe one more, they might fly away. Nope, they flew away.
Right.
And that's just, it is what it is.
And unfortunately, that weather is not going to change, at least for the next day hunt. We're going to take a little nap here after this podcast and then go out and scout. Which another thing is weird is that we're not going out to scout until like 6 o'clock.
Like, till 9. Yeah, it doesn't get dark.
Or in the fall,
9.
you're typically done scouting by 6 o'clock.
Yep.
So we'll go out about 6, probably get back about 9:30. Have a plan together, but we know this going into it, the wind situation is going to be exactly the same. So it's not to say that we've never had great success or on a day where we've had no wind, but you're obviously at a disadvantage when that is in the forecast.
There's also the potential opportunity of we potentially already have an idea. So, if things check out of stuff that you've seen yesterday and we say, okay, that's a really good one, we want to save that. We're supposed to have 20 to 30 mile an hour winds Monday and Tuesday with that storm coming in. So it's like, okay, do we save this really good feed for a Monday when the wind's good? And maybe if we already have something locked up and me and Logan find something, you potentially wait for an afternoon hunt because you already have, you don't have to scout tomorrow afternoon because you already have something for Monday. Yeah. So that's always another option up here is, and I think that there's some of the guys that we've run into up here and things like that. You can tell that a lot of times they're afternoon hunting just because you don't want to get 2 hours of sleep at night and wake up at 2 a.m. to do it. Mm-hmm. But there's another option too. It just kind of depends on what we find at night and what it looks like. There's been, I feel like, more birds flying today than we've seen. We've seen some more migrators, and the weather's a little different. So, things could be completely different tonight.
Yeah, and we do feel like we got a pretty solid option for Monday, which is that field that I spoke to earlier. One thing that is somewhat different, I guess, in our first day's approach, this isn't to say that it couldn't change, either tomorrow. In fact, it would be a great option if we could do it tomorrow just because of the fact that there's no wind. But we found in the last few years of coming up here that sheet water or loafs are the way to go when we hunt spring snow geese.
Yeah, there's times, especially on wet years, that you can get away with hunting them on sheet water or like a loaf that most of the time that water wouldn't be here in the fall time, right?
Yeah.
It's dry in the fall, springtime gets super wet, and then it's I don't know what you call it, a pothole, I guess.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean,
more or
it's holding
less.
water like it.
But yeah, sometimes it's not just a piece of sheet water out in the middle of the field. It's, just a big flooded piece of water that is shallow, that they're not really roosting on. They're going back to the main lake at night to roost on. What was it, 2 years ago? We basically just found a pond and got in between the two big roosts and just kind of ran traffic. And you can kind of get creative times like that up here, but right now it's we found an awesome piece of sheet water. We're like, why is there not any birds on? There just wasn't any birds in that area,
Right.
So,
Well, it's also different too, from the standpoint that typically when we come up here in the spring, it's a lot warmer, and so when they go out to feed in the morning, they're not in the field maybe as long as they would be typically when the temperatures are cooler.
Right.
Yep.
And so it's not to say that it's overly frigid here. I think that when we were setting up, it was right around
freezing.
30 to 32 degrees, I think, somewhere in there,
Yeah.
which after you get into the spring back home and you get acclimated to mid 70-degree temperatures, your blood thins out and it's a little bit of a shock. So not overly cold, but it was, again, one of those situations where it made sense to hunt a feed because we felt like if they were coming out to feed, they wouldn't be so quick to want to get back to a loaf, right? So there's a method to the madness, but it also is helpful to hunt the sheet water when, we always talk about hunting geese over water, right? Because when they commit. That's, that's where they want to be. When you have a day where there's no wind, that is a huge benefit to be able to hunt over the water. So who knows, maybe we can find a scout tonight where it would be an opportunity to hunt water. Guess you'll have to wait to find out. Before we get into this too much further, I would also like to announce that we do have a giveaway for this particular trip, thanks to our buddies over at Blue Water Polarized. That is a company, by the way, that is majority owned by Luke Combs. They have partnerships with Hardy and Riley Green and Cody Johnson and so many others, all the cool kids, like Heartland Waterfowl. We're going to give away a pair of sunglasses and some swag from Blue Water Polarized. So make sure you comment on this video and make sure you look for the hunts, the hunt recaps, I guess is what we call them, as they come out. Comment on all those, subscribe, all of that stuff. That will get you entered. We'll pull someone's name at random at the end of this trip, and we'll have some sunglasses sent to you. They're great sunglasses. They have Zeiss lenses in there, so if you know anything about Zeiss, they're some of the best glass in the world. So be looking for that. Make sure you comment, do all the things. One of the other things that we're going to do here as we get ready to wrap up this particular episode of Behind the Blind is just kind of front sell what's going to happen while we're up here recording the Behind the Blind podcast, which is just kind of recapping season 11. We've had some incredible hunts this year. We've also got a Heartland premiere that's coming up at the end of June in Independence, Missouri. And we're going to talk about what episode that is going to be played at that Heartland premiere, and then kind of maybe promote what is in the future for Heartland Waterfowl for season 12. So, I don't know. Do you guys have anything else that you want to talk about as it pertains to today?
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, good night. Good night.
That's it.
Yeah, go out and have a good scout and hopefully find a solid option for tomorrow.
All right. Fantastic. So thanks again to Tetra Hearing. Check them out at tetrahearing.com, the title sponsor of the Behind the Blind podcast. We appreciate them greatly. Again, subscribe to this Heartland Waterfowl YouTube channel and comment, do all the things to get in to win the Blue Otter Polarized sunglasses and swag. For Alex Dicey, Logan Burdett, I'm Ronnie Phillips. Thanks for watching another episode of the Behind the Blind podcast.
Night.